Hey guys, I have another modified Nerf gun here. This one is a Longshot with a Barricade integration and a Firefly stock. So the purpose of this blaster was to perform for humans versus zombies. That's why it's not firing Stefan darts, because those are banned in this game. So it's supposed to fire streamlines out of here and sonic darts out of the Barricade. The Firefly is just the shell bit, so there's actually no mechanical parts back here that fire darts or anything like that. Getting to the internal modifications, I'm actually going to open up the blaster and give you a little clip of that. Okay, hey guys, I'm inside my Longshot. I'm going to show you around. Starting from the front, here's the integrated Barricade here. It is solvent welded together, but you can't really see that because I only did a small amount, just when the surfaces actually touched each other. Then I have some hot glue covering that just for a little bit more support. You can also see my circuit going through on both sides. I decided to put LEDs on both sides of the shell for this blaster to give it a bit more brightness. And if you can see the shiny silver stuff, that's actually aluminum tape, and that purpose is to kind of reflect as much light forward as possible. Because I don't need my LEDs to shoot both directions, I'm only shooting one direction, so the tape helps to push more light rays actually out. Anyways, my circuit's going through. It's not actually affecting any of my internal workings, which is essential for LED work. And it's going underneath my mag well, underneath my trigger, and most of the busyness is in the back here, which I'll get to in a sec. And you can see my Barricade internals are actually on this side of the shell, while my Longshot internals are on this side. And that's just because when you flip the Barricade upside down, the screw ports are on the other side, so all the internals follow it. It's not too big of a deal to reassemble. The only difficult part is the turret here wants to kind of slide out. That's not a big deal, and it's pretty simple. Getting to the actual modifications, I took out the air restrictor, put some electrical tape over top of the breech hole here, replaced the spring with a K25 spring, re-lubricated and added electrical tape underneath the stock O-ring. And in the back here, I put in a new catch spring, and I actually reinforced this with epoxy putty, so the catch has a bit of a different feel. I know the catch is never going to actually break, but it feels a bit firmer, and I just like it more. I also decided to paint my bolt sled silver, so it's a little bit less yellow and lame on the inside. And I also reinforced the bolt sled up here with a bit of hanger. This bit actually isn't visible. If you can see, that's kind of ugly. I painted it and then decided to go back and epoxy that part in, and I didn't repaint it. You can't see it from the outside though, so I don't think I'm going to go back and fix it. I'm done with the front. I'm actually going to get to the electrical works now. All of these little guys are just quick disconnects. I did get a comment on one of my old YouTube videos suggesting I do this, and it's very nice because you can just pull them apart. That was nice when I needed to work on both of the shells independently, and then you just push them together and it's good to go. This is the last time this blaster is going to be open for quite some time, so I will be wrapping these in electrical tape just to make sure these circuits don't bump into each other and short circuit or transfer energy incorrectly. My LEDs are actually being run off of a single 9-volt battery here, and that's housed in this little 9-volt battery holder, and that is screwed into the back of the Longshot shell here with a number 632 screw. And the Barricade's power source is actually relocated to back here. This is the stock of the Firefly here, and it's actually accessible from the outside, which is pretty nice. I decided not to keep the stock Barricade battery case up here active just because I didn't want more weight to be in the front. I tried to push more weight to the back to keep it over the handle, and that is balanced now. But I figured my LED battery isn't going to run out very often, so I can just open up the blaster and change that out. But if I use my Barricade a lot, I'm going to be running my rechargeable 9-volt on this, so I can just replace it without actually opening the entire blaster, which is pretty convenient. If you can see how I integrated the Firefly stock back here, it's actually quite messy internally because I wasn't going for cleanliness on the inside. I was just trying to get it to look clean on the outside. It's pretty difficult to do both. It's solvent welded together all the way around, and then again I added hot glue as sort of structural support. It's more to prevent of the warping. The solvent weld kind of helps them not pull apart, but then the hot glue should prevent warping. But it's extremely stable how it is, and I'm very happy with the Firefly stock integration. And in this large mess of hot glue is my switch. I'll show you this when it's all assembled. It's a little bit easier. But that's where my switch is located for my Barricade. Yeah, so that's the internals. Again, I'm quite happy with how everything turned out. Internally, everything's great. Everything performs really well. Getting to the external bits now, I adhered both the Firefly stock and the Barricade with solvent weld first, and then some hot glue, and then I bondoed both of them to the Longshot. The Bondo was not used as much as an adhesive, more of a smoothing agent, and I think it looks quite smooth. dry brushing effect does make this look a bit smoother because it doesn't draw your attention to the uneven bits here. This was kind of difficult to sand, so it is kind of unsmooth, but it's pretty good. I actually spent over 2 hours sanding this blaster, so I didn't want to put more time into it, and I think it looks pretty good how it turned out now. The LEDs are located in the front tip here, and the barricade grill, or whatever you call that, and then this little strip here. The LEDs are white in color, and I decided to go with white just because I didn't want to use teal or pink. And white looks pretty cool, and I think goes with the paint job quite well. Unfortunately, these lights are not exactly bright. I have 2 LEDs here, 2 LEDs here, and 1 in here. That's actually on both sides of the shell, so 4, 4, and 2. But even with those LEDs, it's still a bit weak. It's not as even as I would really like. Up here is kind of lacking, and in the back here I have 1 on each side pushing light towards the center, and it's very even, but it's kind of dim. If you didn't see how I turned these LEDs on, I actually have a switch located in the shell here, so you just flick that on and off, and there's 1 master switch for every LED on my circuit. I don't remember if I talked about my LED circuit in my internal shot, but this is just a single circuit running in parallel with a 9-volt battery, and then my switch is right off my positive lead on my battery. My Barricade battery source is actually located in the Firefly stock here, so you only need to remove this Phillips screw here, and then the 9-volt is sitting here. And that is again a 9-volt battery, so I'm getting a pretty good range out of the Barricade, much better than in stock form. I actually took out the circuit, so I have no locks or anything in my Barricade, and the only switch is no longer here. As you can see, there's no on switch on this part of the blaster. My on switch for the Barricade is located on my handle here. It's extremely small, and I didn't want to paint it any funny color. I wanted it to pretty much blend in, but you barely have to touch it, and the Barricade grabs. Again, this switch is extremely small, so you can pretty much grip it, the Longshot grip, just like normal, and if you don't want to use the Barricade, it's not in the way, it doesn't interfere at all. Now getting to the paint job. This is a flat black vinyl dye base coat over the entire blaster, which is all of the black you see here. And then I went back with a small amount of brush paint for the pink and the teal and did those accents. After that completely dried, I went back and painted in some silver accents over these fake little bolts and things, like I typically do with long shots. I think they look pretty cool when they're painted silver, just in little tiny areas. Again, after that dried, I went back and dry brushed the entire blaster. Dry brushing is a method when you wipe off nearly all of the paint from your brush, but you just have enough to pretty much paint the elevated parts of your blaster, so you're not painting the entire thing, so you can still definitely see the black in there, but it just gives it a worn down kind of battle look. I know some people don't like that, but I really think it looks cool, and using something like pink and teal, which are pretty feminine colors, I think the dry brushing makes it look a bit more masculine and pretty much just really badass. And again, I left all of my internal parts unpainted because I like everything to perform perfectly. It's very smooth without paint. So that concludes my Longshot video. I hope you enjoyed this mod. I know I've said it about 10 times in this video, but I'm super stoked of how this looks. I really, really like the Firefly, and I think I'm going to start doing this with other Longshots and just other blasters in general, that is integrating the Firefly shell in. But I think I covered everything, so that is it. If you want to see more pictures or more details on the blaster, mostly pictures, view my website. The link will be in the description box. That is coop772.com. Thanks for watching.